Hey, everybody, welcome back for Business and Life Stories with James and Mike. Our guest this week is a super special guest I've been tracking down for y'all for a couple of months. Aleana Kali, a friend of mine, and she has run some really cool internet businesses. And what she's doing now is amazing. It's going to blow your mind. And for those of you who are wondering, what the heck? How in the world are you going to connect with the people you're trying to reach? That's what we're going to talk about a little bit. Welcome, Aleana.
Thank you. How are you guys doing tonight? Or today for you, James?
Today, wonderful, thank you. And how are you going?
Good.
So
super excited. Yeah.
You didn't start out being this genius marketing and branding expert. Did you just grow up wanting to do that, or did you have something else in mind?
Am I a genius marketer? Well, thank you. No, not at all. Actually, when I was a kid, I was a very introverted, sensitive kid. I was interested in arts. I was interested in philosophy of all things. I didn't know it was philosophy, but I asked a lot of questions about existence and stuff. I was very curious about, like, what is this weird thing? The me, that's just walking around doing stuff, right? I was very aware of my existence in a weird way. And my mom loved to paint, so I picked that up too. And I was interested in music and dance and that sort of thing. I was a very sensitive kid, okay? Anything but business. But what ended up happening is when I was a teenager and in my early 20s, there was kind of a family situation and I kind of needed to make the money. And so I followed a very intuitive way of doing it. I was 17 going on 18. I was like, well, I can buy and sell stuff online. It was 2004. So that's how I got into e-commerce. And then I studied marketing and whatnot. And, learned from my own experience through a couple of other e-commerce businesses. I learned a lot. And, my marketing skills mostly have been acquired through real life experience. The degree didn't really do much. I don't know. It failed me, or I failed it, or we failed each other, but it was not a very great relationship. Just real life was completely different. The application of things was different. I think a lot of business people can relate to that. And then I started consulting other businesses, and I held a couple of roles in the industry, so in marketing and e-commerce and whatnot. And after consulting for about 8 years or so, I ended up doing what I'm doing today, which is a little bit different. And I kind of gave you a segue there into the rest of the story.
Yes, thank you. So e-commerce has certainly changed a whole lot from when it first started.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So What are some of the primary mistakes you see people still making that they probably should have dropped a while ago?
It's funny actually, because even though it changed a lot, like as far as the technologies and how it's done. When I started, there was no Shopify or WooCommerce. There was no YouTube to look up tutorials or anything. Actually, the first time I sold a product online, I used the Hotmail email address. It was a high school one. I'm not going to tell you what anyway, but it's embarrassing. But somehow I managed, right? And but the one thing that's still in common is we're still people selling to people. And that's the thing that I think a lot of digital marketers are missing or forgetting, is that we got in the habit of clicking at things, looking at audiences in terms of numbers. We're looking at clicks, impressions, conversions, percentages. We call people leads. We call them, audiences. We call them potential, whatever, customer, potential client. We measure relationships in terms of churn rate, retention rate, and that sort of thing. And those things really, we use, it's nothing against the words, but, we have to be aware of the fact that when we keep doing that without really reminding ourselves that at the end of the day, we are selling to people, it's a human to human relationship, we miss something fundamentally important, because the relationship between a business and a customer is always a one-to-one. I, as a marketer, might look at a screen and see an audience of 100,000 email subscribers, but the customer sees the brand and they see a relationship of one-to-one, myself and the brand or the business. They're not thinking of a million. Even if you create a community around the brand and whatnot, it's always a one-to-one relationship. And so Where marketers fail, I think, and I've made these mistakes too, by the way, like I'm not sitting here on my high horse telling people, like I've been there, done that, made a lot of mistakes too in my career. But we want to create relationships at scale before we have mastered how to create a relationship one-to-one, right? We think that technology is a way to create shortcuts, and technology can only be fuel to fire, but you have to have the fire first. In the same way that you shouldn't be spending like, advertising dollars if you haven't figured out how to sell to one person. You shouldn't go and then dumping Facebook ads or paid ads. Any form of paid ads is not going to fix it. In the same way, if you haven't figured out how to create like a real emotional, like a genuine emotional relationship, genuine relationship between the customer and the business, doing marketing, slapping marketing on it is not going to fix it. So, I've been really blessed as a marketer that I've been, an entrepreneur first out of need. And I've understood very early on the importance of product and the importance of creating like a really good product by a good human being who cares about his or her team, who cares about their community, it's an ecosystem. A business is an ecosystem. And as a marketer, if you do not understand the entire business, like finance, like operations, all of the other components of the business, at least to some degree, if you're just operating as a marketer in a silo, thinking about campaigns and fun things to say about the business, I think that's where a lot of businesses go wrong with their marketing. So.
I like how you describe having the fire first, which most startups founders have that inside. Getting it out and communicated to actual customers is another issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What are some ways that you help people to communicate their fire and to build the relationships before they try to get more customers in, right? How do they create that experience?
Yeah. Mike, I, worked with hundreds of brands and entrepreneurs of like different degrees. And a lot of them are very successful. A lot of them are making multiple 7- and 8-figure yearly revenues. A lot of them are just starting out and they've done really well for themselves. So they're smart people. And a lot of times they know what to do. They know in the same way that we know what to do as far as like, how do I get in shape? How do I become fit and healthy? We know how to do that. But knowing it is one thing, and then knowing how to apply it in real life with all the human emotions that come at you is a completely different ballgame. I think what's been really difficult, and the reason why I ended up creating Brands That Are Alive in the first place, is after like consulting for many, many years, I'm consulting all these businesses. I'm talking to these really smart people and I'm telling them, here's what you should be doing. I mean, you've hired me and paid me to consult you on your business. This is my job. I'm showing you how to do it. Heck, I'll go in and help you do it. And they're unable to get themselves to do it. And I realized that it was all fear. It's the fear that stops people from doing it. I'll give you an example. Let's say you come in with a vision. I'll talk about myself, actually, one of my businesses here, without hurting anybody's feelings, just to show you that I've been through it. So like, I want to make sure that people are listening. Don't think that I, kind of like let them eat cake. Let's all be like ethical and kind and nice and stuff and all that. Like, I know better than most people the fear of survival, like true survival needs, because I've been in those situations so many times in my earlier life. And that was how I became an entrepreneur in the first place, is I needed to make money. So I'm not speaking as somebody who was privileged and, hey, like do what you love and money will follow and that sort of thing, and follow a vision. Like, I'm telling you as somebody who's been there, done that. Fear will kick in. It's very natural. It's very normal. But when I started, like, I can think of one of the businesses I started was a skincare business. I started with a vision, but then I started feeling afraid, and I started looking at competition, even though what I was creating was so unique and the customers were loving it. I had a great retention and repurchase rate. I had great customers. I had because I had a mission, a lot of the influencers were trying to help me out a lot of them weren't even wanting to get paid for it. They just wanted to be part of it. Like, people felt compelled to be part of this thing because of the purpose that was behind it. And I had a lot going on, but I failed to see that. And I was not looking at what was working in my business. And I was looking at competition, these multi-million-dollar businesses that can spend a ton of money on advertising, and I honestly was feeling insecure and envious. And I felt like I wasn't good enough. I was too small. I can't compete with these people. I can't create such a cool ad like you because I can't spend $1 million on my advertising this month. You know, a lot of it I had to do myself. I don't have a team of 100 people. You know what I mean? Like I was comparing myself to somebody else's journey. God knows what they've gone through to get there and what variables are in their life. What I didn't understand earlier in my life is that when you're looking at competition, so to speak, first of all, you are completely negating the fact that you're creating something unique, but you're also looking at other people, looking at people who shouldn't be your competition, making them your competition, and completely forgetting that these people have all sorts of variables that you do not know about. And that I only understood with experience later in life. I'll give like an example. One of the businesses that I consulted was everybody, actually a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs out there have this one jewelry brand in mind that they compare themselves to, and they all want to be that brand. Okay, it's kind of like a high school thing, like the popular girl and everybody is trying to be that. It's literally like that. And I happen to have worked with that brand. And I know behind the scenes that brand, the reason why they were so successful is because the founder, before he founded the business, was in a position where he had hundreds of contacts with influencers. So his last job had given him connections that nobody else would have had. So you trying to compete with that is literally impossible because he had a certain advantage in his life and he used it. So stop thinking, oh, they did influencer marketing so great, we should copy them. No, he had those connections before he even started the business. We don't know these things. So we go blindly looking at other people and, you know, saying, why wouldn't I do that? Or why shouldn't I do that? I should do that. I should do that. And we forget that we have to look in front of us, you know, our own feet. Like, what am I trying to create? What do I have? What's available for me? And then use that. So I went back and like, guys, I ramble, but I'm very passionate about this topic. And you probably, I don't know if you could tell, I really care about this. So you asked me earlier, like about people wanting to bring their vision to a business and how can they communicate that? It's mostly an inner conflict. It's actually 100% an internal thing. Creating marketing clarity or clarity about a brand message, I can do that exercise for someone in a few minutes. Heck, if I wanted to do a great job, we can give me a couple of hours and I will give you like a crystal clear marketing message. Okay, well, not like that, but like an initial draft at least. Like we can summarize something, right? But the reason why it's so hard is because once you try to clarify that, your inner demons, your shadows, your insecurities are going to come out and they're going to tell you, yeah, but if you don't make 8 figures by Friday, then you're not good enough. Or, you know what I mean? Like you'll have all sorts of things that are going to start messing with your mind. And you go, well, my vision and my dream is really cool, but I really need that money. And I really need to be successful on paper. And I really need to, you know, be okay, you know, in comparison to my peers. And so you start to let go of your vision and you start to do what you think you should be doing in order to survive. So when businesses think, well, how can I communicate my vision? First of all, are you clear on it? Have you developed the courage to say, you know what, I'm owning this. This is mine. This is how I'm going to do it. You know, why do I care about this? Why is this important to me? Those are the questions that we need to have clarity on, you know, and then when they come to me, where they came to me in the past as a marketing consultant and they asked me, what should I do in my business? I started to notice that I could give the same information to this person, the same strategy, this business, and it works for one person, it doesn't work for the other person. It's because they haven't resolved the inner game. So you can't just slap good marketing and good branding on a business if the person who is managing it, you know, the person who is behind it, the visionary, has lost their vision. You know, so.
This is what is so fascinating to me about your current company. Is it's holistic. And we've seen, I mean, the world has seen holistic coaches and mindset coaches and all these people. And we've seen forensic accountants and in-depth business analysts. And there's a few companies trying to combine some aspects of those. But you are really probably the most effective person I've ever seen at combining the way of helping a business founder integrate and figure out the internals of themselves first, and then put that together with the business idea. Because you're right, James and I have probably close to 2,000 investor pitches a year, most of which we tune out after the first 30 seconds. Because people don't show up, like you say, they don't show up with that inner confidence of, this is what I have. And is there competition for what they're doing? Sometimes. But they need to know what that, no real competition, as you just said. Don't assume that these other people are in competition with you. They're doing something different already because they're different people.
Yeah.
So how do you help people integrate that inner part with the hard business side? It's kind of a funny thing in investing because we see this bifurcation of the human brain, right? Some people really focus on the hard skills, and some people focus on what we call the soft edge skills, or things you can't measure with numbers. Not too many people combine both, and the ones that have done so are fairly legendary. Because it's rare. Usually you have two co-founders, so between the two of them, they have one complete brain. Mm-hmm. Which, that's a long-standing observation we've had. How do you get people to calm the heck down and really take the time to, particularly for our audience, how do you recommend that they could take the time to back off a little bit and really think about things?
Those are great questions. First of all, about having the two types of brains, I really don't believe, this is going to sound crazy to some people. I think a lot of what we think is a character or our character is really just a mask. Who is Aleana? Am I introverted or extroverted? Am I kind or unkind? Am I funny or boring? It depends on who you ask, right? And the same goes for, am I left-brained or right-brained? Well, I have the capacity to be both. It depends on which muscle I'm working more. If there is such a thing as a left brain or right brain, we all have both of them. We're supposed to use both of them. And for some of us, we enjoy like the creative aspects more than the analytical aspects. And sometimes we ebb and flow, like we go through periods where we enjoy one part or another. But all this to say is we want to be careful of rejecting parts of ourselves or saying I am this or I am not this, because that's where we create these identities where we say, well, I am an analytical person, therefore I cannot be heart-centered. I made that mistake. I went through a lot of, I faced a lot of fears. I don't want to say the word ego death because it gets overused and it's not what happened. I had to let go of who I thought I was before as a strategist, because as a consultant, I derived a lot of my self-esteem and feeling of safety and security in business. I thought that I could only be taken seriously if I was an analytical person who was left-brained and, just hard data and stuff. Even though one would argue I was, into painting and dancing and music and philosophy and whatnot, I was definitely a creative kid. How could you possibly do that? But I overused that side because when things happened and I was 17 or 18 and I needed to make money to survive and take care of family, I shut down the part of me that was the right brain, and I adopted the left brain to kind of replace the father figure. And I went into the masculine role, and I went into this like masculine energy of getting shit done. Oops, sorry, pardon my French. Yeah.
we like the French here. French is welcome.
Great, awesome. You will regret saying that. No, I'm just kidding. I usually say, I try, but I can't help it. But I got overly attached to this identity because I got a lot of praise for being so logical and so able to decide to be impartial and cut my emotions and whatnot. And I thought that was my strength. And but then I realized that's not healthy. You are supposed to feel your feelings, as it turns out, and two, that there's no such thing as this kind of person or this kind of person. Anyway, so now that I talked about that, I think I might have forgotten your question.
I know James has questions. You can
You
tell
think
by
you
the
could-
look on his face.
I think
I think you covered it. You covered it.
I mean, I think it's so important, isn't it, to I mean, I don't want to make this a carte blanche statement here, but when I started learning copywriting a number of years ago, Frank Kern, Eben Pagan, all the earlier ones whose name escapes me, but
Ogilvy and stuff.
sorry.
Oh no, I think no, never mind.
Yeah. It was Jeff Walker. It was almost like they could connect to something within themselves and then bring it out through words. And I feel that I so agree with the most complete business person or marketeer is able to do a degree of tech, but also tap into themselves to be able to connect. And it's so true that if you cannot make one sale or 10 sales one-to-one, you cannot make 100 or 1,000 sales, because ultimately, from my own experience of when I've invested in mentorship, the copy which I've read has spoken to me, but that copy has been read by maybe, however many were on that email list, right? Now, that's where the power comes. That's kind of the combination of the inner and then the outer being able to scale it.
Absolutely.
It's so powerful, isn't it? Like,
yeah, it's a quality of presence and observation. I think that's what it is. It's being present and observing oneself. And when you observe yourself, you can more easily observe and understand other people, because we're not very different. I mean, we can have different perspectives. And don't get me wrong, like our perspectives can be so vastly different that we might as well be living in different universes. My understanding of truth is probably vastly different from somebody else's understanding of truth. Truth is not fact. Like, it's completely subjective, which boggles.
Yeah.
And nobody is right or wrong. We're all right and wrong at the same time, but that's a different topic, So perspectives can be different, but as far as like human emotion and human suffering and the human condition, it's all the same. Like, you scratch a little bit under the surface and you'll find, what I find is kids, we are all just children who somehow it feels like you just blink your eye and suddenly you're an adult and you're like, wait, I'm supposed to pretend that I know what I'm doing right now. You know what I mean? But holy cow, there's so much that I don't know. And I'm scared shitless. And I am sitting on this planet that's spinning at like 10,000 kilometers per hour, miles per hour, around an inferno, like ball of fire. And we're all going to die. But let's just get back to this present moment and have a conversation with fellow human beings. You know what I mean? It's just
you just described the mind space of most entrepreneurs. That's a really good description.
I think another really, really important thing, which is kind of connected to the whole fear thing, is that I think social media or the way stories are portrayed kind of makes a lot of people seem an overnight sensation, and
yep.
And some are like some just happen to be, but for the vast majority, it's an accumulation of, I guess, experiences and digging deeper within ourselves through building resilience through our journey.
Absolutely. Yep.
And that's kind of fascinating as well. You can sometimes feel that in the marketing or the branding, can't you? That there's something there's a river underneath it. It's kind of like there's a flow under there, and you can't write that without having kind of been in that river and gone over a few kind of waterfalls and been around a whirlpool, and then you can write that kind of marketing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something that I've always found really like fascinating about marketing, and that I love most about marketing, really. And I, thought about this a lot when I was younger. I was like, am I ready now to go and explore other avenues of my career now that I am old enough to decide for myself and no longer out of fear? Do I still want to be a marketer? And I found what I love most about it is how, when done right, as you said, and it's an expression of like an experience that you've had, and you can make a genuine connection with someone else, it is really beautiful. Being able to connect with someone and being able to connect with them because you've really been in their shoes and you understand their pain. And when you use your joy and what brings you joy to help ease somebody else's suffering and really either solve their problems or help them meet their desires, it really is a generous gift. Marketing can feel like a gift, but it has to come from the right intentions, right? Like when it's done with love. But unfortunately, for a lot of us, for most people, really, especially, when they're just starting out, but unfortunately a lot of times for most people throughout their entire lives as business people, they just remain in that state of consciousness where that's really all they do. It's I'll just say what I need to say to make the sale, right? Instead of really tuning inwards and saying, what is it that I care about? What kind of change do I want to make? And then building a business around it. You'll always find potential clients or customers. The internet gives us access to 5 billion people today. I was just telling a friend of mine the other day that even if you resonate with like 1% or 0.1%, you're still talking to like 50,000 people who are potential clients, and they absolutely freaking love what your brand stands for. But you have to be clear, and you have to wait. You have to be patient and wait, and for the profit to come in.
And to like Mike and I have spoken to, met a lot of people, and I also read it as well, and we've all read it on other platforms. Like, I can help everybody, or like,
yeah. Yeah.
And it kind of like, it kind of grates because, well, for one, it's blatantly untrue, but getting back to truth, it might be their truth. But I think it's sometimes like, it's like you have to dive deep to really know who you can truly serve, right? And this comes back to being prepared for being able to take this step to scale. Because if you do not have the clarity of who you can truly serve, then this carte blanche statement, hey, I can coach everybody. I'm a great PT. I'm an awesome coach. I can help you recover from a bad marriage. I can help you find your boyfriend or girlfriend. I can help you lose like 30 pounds because I've got this awesome system, right? And it will just work.
Yeah.
And it's like, how can, I guess, getting back to where my diversion has left the road and now I'm coming back onto the road, how can you help your clients take that dive so they know, so their truth can come through, or so they're able to have the confidence to be able to express their truth, as in, no, I would like to specialize with ABC and XYZ because that's been my journey. I embrace it, and that's who I can truly serve. So how do you help someone reach that place?
Do you mean just in terms of the audience, or just clarity about everything? This is what I do. This is who I do it for. This is how I want to do it.
that sort of first step there before we
Mm.
scale it out, because
Okay.
that's, I feel, such an important step, isn't it? It takes time, it takes clarity, it takes some
Absolutely,
quiet
absolutely.
space.
It takes a lot of time, and it's a continuous journey to keep clarifying. And we are also dynamic beings, so we keep changing. And you might think you found your clarity, and the next day you discover something about yourself, and you discover you want something slightly different, and you keep narrowing it or widening it. It's a journey. You gotta love it. But the first step is making a commitment to that your self-expression is more important than anything. That's the first step. The first step is deciding it's more important to me to speak my truth than it is to please people. It's more important to me that this change that I seek to make is so important to me that I'm willing to suck at it in the beginning. I'm willing to look like an idiot. I'm willing to lose a little bit of money or a lot of money. So I guess, for example, for me, when it started as a need for change. I felt something wanted to come alive through me. I don't know, like this may have something to do with the fact that I called it Brands Are Alive. Something felt like it wanted to express itself, and I just didn't know what it was, let alone how to make money off of it. I just knew I was completely out of alignment with my business. Pardon me, I was not happy. I had good days, but it's like any relationship where you start to feel like, oh, I might be in the wrong one. What do we do? Let's just ignore it and hope it goes away because this is too painful. And we've invested too much in this damn thing. So that was the business of 8 years. I was like, I don't want to let it go. Maybe I'm just going through something. Let me take a vacation. I did a bunch of things. I did a lot of things to try to, and it's important, right? Like want to take time off and make sure that anyway, so I started, but I had already decided that I couldn't, it was so hard waking up every day, pushing through, trying to do the work, felt like a lot of struggle. I was dreading a lot of calls with people. I felt like I wasn't showing up for my best self. It was really hard to motivate myself. It was really hard to make myself do anything. It was like, okay, now I make good enough money. Life is good. It's okay. And I just couldn't push myself, right? And sometimes, honestly, it felt like even if I had lost the money, I didn't care anymore. I was done, right? I was done with it. Like I wanted to feel excited about the business. I wanted to feel like I was driven by a purpose and everything. So I made a commitment, but I had no idea how it was going to work out. That's the first step, is you've got to decide. I don't know, maybe for me, and for a lot of people, you feel a lot of pain. I've talked to a lot of people who have gone through life experiences like a death of a loved one or a major experience that jolts you and makes you realize that, like I really do have one life, at least in this form right here, right now. And I'm not going to live forever. And I don't really want to wake up every day doing this anymore. And yes, profit and money is important, but this is also important. In my case, I took a bit of an extreme position. I had to let go of a lot of money and a lot of clients and a lot of contracts and made lots of changes in my personal life, and I still am. But I had to take many steps back before I could take steps forward. But it doesn't even have to be that drastic for other people. Like you don't have to burn the bridge or let go of a business or something. There's a way to transition out. So the first step is making that decision. The second step is you've got to disconnect from the world a little bit. I think that we have such an overabundance of information, and it's good information. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of good content out there. But how many of us want to sit down and journal about what do I want to do with my life? But then you go to your laptop and you go to a blog post and then you go down a rabbit hole of 17 articles that are great, but are not going to do anything for you right now. They're not going to help you out. And now you know so much and you're a walking encyclopedia, but hey, life still feels like crap, right? And now your brain is overloaded and we need to give ourselves some space. Our brains were not supposed to handle this much information. And so you've got to disconnect for some time. Stop. You're not going to find the answer to your life's purpose in Google. Okay. You're not going to find answers like these out there. You're going to find them internally. And I will do everybody listening a favor. I feel confident to say that I have, and this is going to sound very arrogant, but hear me out. I have discovered every human being's purpose on the planet. If you are listening to this and you're like, what is my purpose? I have the answer for you. Your purpose is to be yourself. That's it. Your purpose is to express yourself, who you are in this world, who you came to be, this essence, this kind of spirit that wants to express itself, and it wants to explore life and expand and live and grow. It wants to expand according to its own heart and how it feels, not what the neighbors think. That's your purpose. Your purpose is to be joyful, to be alive, to be grateful every day, to feel those feelings. And once you make a commitment that this is more important than what society thinks or what is the definition of success on paper, then you are starting to go in the right direction. So you've got to disconnect from societal pressure, let go of this is why I said earlier, I had to let go of a lot of things. I had to let go of little things like, oh, I used to work with multi-million-dollar brands and now I'm going to take a step back and work with smaller businesses. Yeah, that's what I want. My ego is like, no, like you should be moving forward. Honestly, but I was like, but this is what I want. This is what, when I think about it, this is what gives me joy. And now I don't feel like I'm like this. That was silly. I don't feel that makes me smaller, but your mind will play tricks on you based on whatever kind of experiences you had and, upbringing, and it will trick you into living the wrong life. And you wake up one day and realize you're in the wrong business, wrong relationship, wrong life, wrong movie. Call the director, call the producer. Let's call this out. This isn't working. That's kind of what happens for a lot of people. So the first step is really, like I said, making that decision, disconnecting from the outer world, looking inwards. Meditation, I know, is a dirty word for a lot of people. Let's not call it meditation. If it bothers you, just silence. You'll be surprised I started with just 1 minute. I mean, at some point I was doing an hour, 2 hours plus a day, but not anymore. Nowadays, I don't have the time for it, unfortunately. But when I started my meditation journey, I started with like 1 minute and I couldn't sit with myself. And now when I close my eyes, I not only am comfortable with a lot of emotions, I also have a completely different experience now. I can actually, it's funny, today I tapped into something again. You know what? I'm going to stop here because this is me going into different topics that have literally nothing to, this is how my brain works. Okay.
This was good.
The mind of a business owner. We all do it. And I love the description you just gave. It's emotional and can also manifest with physical results. Trap, you measure ourselves on the wrong scale. Example from our business, people say, well, you used to work for so-and-so and so-and-so and they were your clients. You go, yes, they were. Well, why are you helping us? It's like, because that's who we are. It's what we want to do. And, it's this weird thing of thinking that we always have to be, as a society, and especially in business, there's kind of this weird scale that we all get put on. It's like, well, how big are you? How many assets do you run?
Oh, yeah.
Who do you know? All these things. Yep. It's like, you know what? I'm always reminded of what my friend Terry Pratchett, the writer, said. Somebody was interviewing him and they said, there's been more than 70 million copies of your book sold worldwide. How did you do that? And he said, I contacted hundreds of publishers and one of them eventually said yes.
Yep.
Not I changed my book to fit what the publisher wanted.
Yep.
Not I wrote what I thought people would want to read. No, he knew what he had to say. And he just went and kept going until he found an outlet.
That's exactly right. That's exactly how it works. And you've got to have that courage to follow that. And it's not easy. It's not easy. But once you get in the habit of listening to yourself, and really the key is to allow yourself. Everybody knows what it is they want to do. I have never talked to someone who didn't eventually end up saying what is it they wanted to do within the call. Okay. But what happens is people know it, but fear makes you forget. Fear will make your mind pretend like it doesn't know the answer to protect you. So if it thinks the answer is too painful, it's like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. No, but it scares you because it's too different from what you have. or you feel like you can't pull it off, or whatever it is. But, you know, the key is to just look at what is it that excites you, look at the things that you do in your free time, look at the things. Actually, you know what, remind me after the episode, I will send you guys, I have some resources for people, passion clarity, to clarify their passion, questions to ask, brand value clarity, which is a document that helps you create like a brand story around the values that make your brand different, and then how to use that. James, you asked the question, how do I find the people and how do I attract the right people and create that audience? It's around clarifying how, you know, what change you're seeking to make and expressing how your brand is making that difference in the world. This document is for that. Okay, so brand value clarity, passion clarity, and then I have another one called messaging clarity, and that's the specific questions that help you clarify your message. So when you write something, it's succinct and it's to the point and it's clear, because it's very important in digital marketing. You have to be able to cut through the noise. You've got to get the message across pretty quickly, basically. So I'll send you guys some resources that you can add that will help people like step by step if they want to work on those things. But, you know, on the topic of like feeling bad and measuring by societal metrics, I know this woman who has 2 businesses. Their value totals about $1 billion. She's self-made. Okay, this woman went through bankruptcy twice. Actually, I think I can mention her name because she posted it publicly. Susie Batty is the founder of Poopery. Amazing human being, total badass woman. She's from Texas also, and she created Poopery and Supernatural. This woman built her first business, I think, her first successful business, and she sold the first piece of Poopery when she was 40 something. So now she's in her 50s. She's got $1 billion, valuation. Anyway. One day she posted online, she said, you know, I was feeling sorry for myself and feeling like I didn't do well enough in life. I wasn't successful enough because, and at first I was like, how is that possible? How do you possibly create $1 billion like empire and feel like you didn't do enough? And then it hit me like, wait a second. When you start making that kind of money, then you're in contact with people who are making way more. Yes. And of course, if you make $1 billion, but your friends, I mean, I don't know Susie's friends, but if a friend is making 15 billion, of course you're going to feel poor in comparison. You know, it's all relative. I mean, somebody in another part of the world might be earning $2 a day. They look at us and we look astronomical, and they might put us on some sort of pedestal and think that we're like some sort of demigods, you know, who make whatever, but it's not a different human being. It's kind of, you got to think of people not as different species, but like same people, but at different points in a scale of knowledge or experience or whatever. And a lot of it is like life, where you are in life, circumstances. So yeah, once you see it that way, then you understand like there's no competition with people out there. You have to look at what's in front of you. Stop trying to avoid and escape yourself and your life, and start looking at what's in front of you, basically.
That's a really, really good thought.
Thank you.
Just beautiful. So we will have those links down below for everybody. And Aleana, do you have any parting comments for the audience or anything? What's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Sure. Parting thought is never, ever, ever give up on yourself in this process. No matter how long it takes, I promise you, it is more than worth it. You know, I really, truly believe this with all my heart. It's real. Life is not worth living if you're not doing what you love and with people that you love. There's no reason for you to put up with a life that drains you, relationships and work that don't light you up, circumstances that don't light you up. You've got to pursue what makes you happy. And there is a way to make a profit out of everything. I want to be clear to those who are listening. We're not saying follow your passion and be a starving artist. Not at all. I really like a good life, and I am very much in love with money, and I like making money, but there are things that matter way more, and those have to be pursued first. And then within that context, we ask, okay, now how do we make money with this? And we shouldn't let money be the master who decides what is it that we do with our life and how to live, because then it's really not worth it. Okay, So that was the thought. And then how people can get a hold of me. Well, I have a newsletter. Sounds really fancy, I know, but I send 1 email per week. I try not to send too much stuff out there. I, try to just focus on quality over quantity. So I will not spam your mailbox. I promise you that. I send an email every Saturday, and it's brandsaralive.com/newsletters. We'll make sure to add the link there too for anyone who wants to listen. And then every Saturday you'll hear from me. And then if you don't like it, you can unsubscribe. It'll hurt my feelings, but it's okay. I will forgive you. I'm not gonna lie. Like I got 3 unsubscribes recently, and it made me question myself. I was like, I need to go within and figure out why I'm bothered by this. And I realized I wasn't having as much fun anymore with the content. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been hurt by it. So I am making a point to have more fun with my content going forward. But anyway, a thought for you. But you are free. I will not hunt you down, and I will not hurt you if you decide to unsubscribe. I promise.
Thanks for being here tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. It's been really, really fun. Appreciate it.
Thank you.